Just wanted to reset and recoup and jam with Adam Mendler, personal brand expert, leadership expert, serial entrepreneur, someone who I could personally say is just crushing it, doing really well. He's set on air. He's done over 70 articles. So we're actually going to take a little quick segue. What is your work ethic like? What do you do to produce that much content? I mean, do you have like a routine every day? Like at least during the work days, you get up at like 5 or 6, you work out. Like tell us about that stuff, because I'm curious how your mindset works.
Yeah, so there really is no typical day, so to speak, and that's one of the beauties of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I've had so many different jobs where I could literally tell you at 6 o'clock I would do this, and at 7 I would do that, and then at 11 I would do that. Being an entrepreneur is none of that. Every day is different. With that said, there's kind of a general theme throughout the day. I try to get up early. I'm naturally up early. I don't have an alarm clock. My body is my alarm clock.
The same way.
Yeah, and it's just a genetic alarm clock. So I get up early. I usually spend the first hour to 2 in the morning just pounding through emails and pounding through email-like tasks. So things that I need to get done, things that are, starting the day right with business-related projects. From there, I'll get a workout in, lift weights, take a workout class, and then go home, shower, and then go into the office and work with my team, or just get back on my computer and go back to work.
Okay, let's talk about the writing part. So if you got, for your 71st articles, you have 70 articles, let's say someone said, I want you to write this, and the deadline is in 2 weeks, or let's say a month, let's be realistic, I guess. What is your process for writing an article?
Yeah, so what I've really enjoyed, and I think the reason why I've been able to churn out so much content so quickly, is because I haven't really had a process that I've had to stick to. It's been me following my own creative instincts. So, for example, if I have an idea, if there's something that I want to say, if there's something that I want to express that I think will add value to others, it's not just me saying, I have this random thought, let me put it on paper. It's, I have this thought that I think will be valuable to a significant segment of people.
Okay.
I will then put it on paper, and I'll just pound it out and go with it. There are all different kinds of things that could trigger that. For example, this is kind of a random one, but I was at Whole Foods, and I just had an awful experience there. And it was my third terrible experience there in like 2 weeks. And all 3 experiences were very similar, and they were all around having really bad customer service. Me being on the receiving end of bad customer service. And I was upset about it, and the manager mishandled the whole situation. And I went back home, and I thought to myself, I could either be angry tonight and stew over it, or I could kind of turn this feeling, this negative emotion that I have, into something positive. And what I did was I wrote an article, and the article was, the topic was on how businesses can better handle bad customer situations.
Okay.
So I wrote an article on essentially how entrepreneurs can improve their customer service that was inspired by my own poor customer service dealings at Whole Foods. I didn't name Whole Foods in the article.
Good.
It wasn't a personal thing against Whole Foods.
And it was just that specific Whole Foods location. It wasn't like in general.
It wasn't a knock on Whole Foods.
Okay, cool.
It wasn't a knock on Whole Foods. I and full disclosure to your audience, I go to that Whole Foods all the time. I'm a huge Whole Foods.
And there's a wanted face of you on the store now.
Probably. No, and and it was just candidly, it was just a bad manager who mishandled the situation.
Okay.
And I'm a bachelor, so that means that I rely very heavily on organizations like Whole Foods that can cook food for me.
Yes.
So
story of my life.
so please, Whole Foods, do not take this out on me because I need your grilled salmon. I love your grilled salmon. I was just upset that when I ordered the grilled salmon, it wasn't there for me, and they threw it out. And whatever, I don't want to bore your audience. But the point that I'm making is, I tried to take this experience and turn it into a positive, and it was a thought that I had on my mind, and I wrote an article about it.
Okay.
And the article, again, wasn't about my own personal experience, but it was really about how entrepreneurs can create better customer service systems.
So that segues into macro trends. Let's talk about leadership. Like what are the traits of a good leader in your opinion?
Oh man, so many.
Because you've interviewed so many
yeah.
good leaders, and you've spoken with so many groups, and you've worked with students and CEOs and athletes.
Yeah.
So
I've interviewed literally over 300 of America's top leaders.
See what I mean?
And,
so what have you learned?
So much. I think that first and foremost, leadership today is very different than leadership was yesterday.
Okay.
I think that the most effective leaders are leaders who really understand themselves and who are comfortable in their own skin and who really know who they are and don't feel the need to prove themselves to other people. So before you can effectively lead others, you really need to be able to lead your own life. Before you can be a great CEO of a company, you really need to be a great CEO of your own life and your own career. And all the great leaders who I've interviewed are people who know themselves, know who they are, and are comfortable with who they are. The workforce today responds to a different kind of leadership than the workforce of yesterday responded to. It's a different workforce. When you think about the last generation, there weren't millennials, there weren't Gen Zers. Ash, are you a millennial?
No.
Okay, you just missed the cut.
Yeah.
So I'm an old millennial, and I get it. I get it because I understand millennials, I understand Gen Z, but I also understand Gen X and I understand the boomers. And I think that one of the things that a lot of the leaders who don't succeed in today's landscape lack, and one of the most important things for any leader to have, is adaptability and flexibility, and to really understand that the way that you may have managed the worker in 1995 isn't going to work today in 2019. So the leaders who are effective and the kind of leadership that really works today, and this applies whether you're leading a startup company, whether you're leading a Fortune 500 company. I've interviewed a lot of really successful generals and admirals, and I've heard the same themes. I had one general tell me, I've never gotten anyone to do anything for me by raising my voice. I've never gotten anyone to do anything for me by saying, this is a command, this is an order. And that's a huge misconception that people have, that we need to boss people around, we need to tell them what to do, and look at our military leaders, it works for them.
Yeah.
On the contrary, even our great military leaders, this was a decorated 3-star general who told me that verbatim. And to lead effectively today, you need to be able to inspire your workers. You need to be able to connect with your workers. You need to be able to relate to your workers. You don't need to be their best friends. You don't need to be their drinking buddies. But you need to be someone who they will listen to. One of the things that a lot of people struggle with is feedback, right? Criticism. No one likes getting criticized. And as a leader, it's a very challenging question of, how do I criticize my workers? What do I do? How do I deliver bad news, bad messaging, difficult messaging? And a lot of leaders kind of understand the messaging that I've given you so far, and they try to be, they go overboard with it. They try to be really good friends with their workers, and they're too afraid to give criticism. And there's really this fine balance and fine line. And to me, what's most important, especially when it comes to criticism, but just thinking more globally, is the source of the person giving the feedback, the source of the person who's leading. If you're a person who is admired and is respected, if you're a voice that's worth listening to, then no matter what it is you say, the people who are on the receiving end will understand that you're coming from a good place, you're coming from a place of wisdom, and you're someone who should be listened to, and that makes all the difference.
Okay. My last question for you, because I love what you said about a leader who is first aware of themselves first, like a leader within before they go without. How does a leader develop these awareness traits? Like, what should they do to like check on themselves to see if they're doing a good job or not?
Yeah, phenomenal question. I think it's really important to surround yourself with people who will be honest with you. I think it's really important to surround yourself with a network that will let you know how you're doing. Professionally, that may be called your board of advisors, that may be called your board of directors. Personally, that might be called your circle of friends.
Yep.
It might be called your family. If you have a wife and kids, it might be called your wife and kids.
Right.
It might be your mentor or your mentors. But I think it's really important that to really stay grounded and to really stay humble, that you not get too isolated. And being an entrepreneur, and I understand that your audience is really passionate about entrepreneurship. Being an entrepreneur is a lonely experience, and so many entrepreneurs out there are not necessarily loners, but being an entrepreneur can become a very lonely existence. And I think it's extremely important to escape that loneliness and to surround yourself with people who will keep you honest, who will check you, and who will make sure that you are every day, if not every day, at least on an ongoing basis, your best self.
Okay. Well, on that note, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your journey, your knowledge. Believe me, some good knowledge. People want to connect with you. Where can they connect with you?
Very easy. My name, Adam Mendler. So you can find me on social media at Adam Mendler. So all the different social media channels, Instagram, Twitter, at Adam Mendler. And then on my website, www.adammendler.com. So should be pretty accessible.
Okay. Well, everyone, we are going to end the show. I hope you learned some knowledge. I'm processing a lot. It was a lot of great knowledge. Before I go, just want to give a couple shout outs. I want to give a shout out to some of our fans who have been really on me for pushing to get more leadership content. So thank you, Joan and Jackie, for... So funny, Joan and Jackie sounds like they're related, but they're not. They're two different people. We get a lot of messages on email. And also, please connect with the station on social. I love saying this statement. This is a 24/7/365 endeavor. There's always something on, even on Christmas Day. There's live or pre-recorded. Best way is check out the social at KUCIFM on Instagram, at KUCIFM on Twitter. This is why they have a paper here. Thank you. KUCI 88.9 on Facebook. And of course, the site for the main station is kuci.org. If you want to reach me, ASHKUMRA at kuci.org. We are actually going to have a great guest next week. Kind of segueing from last week, we're going to have another kind of crowdfunding extraordinaire. He's doing a great campaign, and so we'll be featuring that. And then the week after, we're going to have our very own Ryan Foland with his new book. I believe it's going to hit bestseller, or it is bestseller status already, so I'm super excited to talk to him about that. But yeah, I'm going to play some music before the next show comes on. But thank you again, Entrepreneur Nation on KUC 8.9 FM in Irvine, signing out.